Could you tell us your association to the Savoy Ballroom?
Well, my association to the Savoy Ballroom goes back to about the age of, believe it or not, about 16. You weren't legal until you were 18. But my dad knew Mr. Buchanan. They were friends. Mr. Buchanan of the West Indian background, and also my dad, because my home was in St. Vincent, West Indies. And they knew each other through the days, in the sense of the old Harlem, with the various clubs and what have you. They had over 100 clubs at that time. So I started going to Savoy for the rehearsals. I was watching people like Big Nick, Tall Teddy, Lee Moulton, Ronnie Hayes, Willie Posey, Sugar, Gloria, Ruth. I mean, it can go on and on and on. And I was kind of a shy kid at the time. And what happened was I think I got out there and I just did a little bit, because I never was really when I say into the Lindy Hop, I could do it, but I was more into Latin, but I'd get away from it. And I did a little bit of that, and then someone said, okay, do this is a little bit of the dance. And I did that. And after I got through, this young lady was standing on the side and she said, oh, I just love that. So that was it. I was sold on the Savoy, I was sold on dancing. I go back to Savoy, I say about 1955. 1955.
So, could you describe, we haven't talked to many people who haven't much exposure to Mr. Buchanan enough. Could you tell us a little bit about him from what you know?
He was a very stately, politically inclined individual. When I say politically inclined, he had that people-friendly attitude, but no one ever took him for granted, and no one was ever disrespectful of him. And that's saying something in a domain which sells alcoholic beverages and people are out to have a good time. He had that professor air. And my brief encounters with him was speaking, and maybe we'd speak just for a minute, but he was a very priestly type individual. At least that's the way I found him. No nonsense, a no nonsense guy, but he was always pleasant.
The sense I get from a little bit I've read and a few people I've talked to is that kind of everybody had sort of great respect for Charles Buchanan.
Yes, because he gave you no other reason to have anything else. He conducted himself well. He never met a stranger, but he knew how to handle the worst situations. Smooth. There are some individuals who are in his position or were in his position that would have taken it as a braggadocious, or if there were a problem, he would present, listen, I told you not to do. Sometimes he'd come in the midst of a situation and talk to the individual while the bouncers were ready to pounce on him, There was one gentleman there by the name of Mr. Speed. He was the head bouncer that I remember at that time. And he was cool. He was also cool. But they didn't play. Mr. Buchanan never met a stranger, and he had a way of conducting himself if he met the devil in hell. Okay, you got the picture.
I do. So do you feel like, was he a man who had a reputation of that, or just those through their methods? Did people know about him?
There's something that you have to notice not only about the Savoy, but in businesses. As a rule, you can always tell the proprietor. It's something about him. He's picking up a napkin, or the proprietors are never too vain to do menial work because that's his place. And he would be concerned about moving about and what he was doing and who he was doing it with and what he was saying. That was the reason. So if you didn't know who he was, because most folks didn't know until they saw him. Well, that's, his reputation didn't precede him in most cases. The regulars knew who he was, but he always conducted himself well. I never saw him hit an angry word like, oh, stop them from doing what they're doing. So you have to respect the person who respects themselves and respects others.
So just stick with him for just a moment. Do you feel like his personality, how did that play out into the Savoy? What did it affect?
How did it affect the Savoy?
Yeah. did it?
It gave, yes, it did, because it gave the Savoy, regardless of how much pandemonium was going on, and there was a lot of that going on when they had the Lindy Hop. It always gave it an air of class. You know, we were going insane, but in a calm way. It always gave it that air of class. The Savoy was never a place that it was what they call a bucket of blood, and it has a lot to do with the leadership. Mr. Buchanan was very classy, and so that just ran forth in the whole place there.
So, in your experience with did you continue to dance the Lindy Hop after the Savoy closed?
Yeah, well, what they would call the swing or the Lindy Hop, the bop, that whole thing. I was more of a bopper, and mainly I was, they had Latin dancing at the Savoy also, and that was my high point, because I went on to dance at the Palladium Ballroom. I made films. One of the films I made was entitled Mumble Madness. I think they call it Mumble Dance Party now. So that was my love. But after I left, you see, what people call swing or what they call Lindy, we were doing in the centers. You know, we had community centers. So that was nothing new. We leaned more toward the bop or open work, and then we get the girl and swing out. But this is our national anthem. So it was before, during, and after.
So was there a sense, I guess, like, how would you describe people's perception of Lindy Hop versus these other dances?
It's a free dance. It's a dance that if you, let me say, I'm trying to think, I wasn't looking at anything. If you can just keep yourself balanced, you're gonna have a good time, because the music is so powerful, it's so strong that you're gonna fall on it. And it's a freedom dance. You know, and you can swing, you can enjoy yourself. That's something that you can work with a partner, and eventually you work it out. So in comparison to other dances that were a little intricate or overly sensual or open, see, what made the Lindy so great is no matter what they did, they were always together. Dancing is when two people dance together, not two people look at each other and move. Am I making, that's what the difference was. Any whole, what they call touch dance, because the Lindy Hop was a touch dance, even though sometimes they'd be touching you and throwing you in the air, but it still was a touch dance. And any touch dance had it over the loose dances, where you have situations now where, and I don't knock it, don't get me wrong, but if people, you know, she's here, and you're there, and you're dancing, and the music's loud, you know, and how do you get your thing? Well, I can't say that on TV. It's a family show, right? How do you get your thing on? When you can hold. So the Lindy, and you held, and it was still innocent because you were moving fast, but you're still holding on. You could check everything that was there.
So do you feel like there's some sensuality built into Lindy Hop or touch dancing in general?
Do
you feel like there's some sensuality like built
Oh,
into touch dancing?
yes. Oh, yes. It was safe. It was a safe dance. It was a dance that, as a rule, a woman wouldn't refuse you because she was safe. Okay, touch dancing, especially the Lindy and the swing and whatever was going on, you were going to be moving, but you were going to be moving at such a rate that didn't give an opportunity to get up close right away. But you found in the dance, the sensuality in dance, a lot comes from unison. It comes from communicating. It comes, wow, we can do this thing together. That's why you see a lot of arm work and twist and turn. See, that didn't take place until like about 2 minutes into the dance or a minute and a half into the dance, when you felt that you had a groove going. Oh, wow, we'll try this. So wait a minute, I'll sling you here. And you're back again. Because now I know, now what the sensuality came from as far as that was concerned, was we found that we have something in common and there's something harmonious. Then there was a lot of eye contact. Oh, wow, wait a minute, I never thought about you that way. Would you like something to drink? Or would you like such and such and such and such? Boom, boom, boom. Have you got a handkerchief? And that's exactly what that's all about.
Okay.
Yeah, the sensuality. See, because folks really feel the things that must be sensual must be uptight, grimy, and close. But once we find that we can work together, that's as central as anything you want. No matter how fast we go, we have something in common. We're sharing something. We have a certain amount of fire, and that's what that's about.
Well, that's really interesting that you say that. I wonder, what's your perception? Like, where did that go?
What do you mean is
Did that leave that partner dance and that idea of sensuality?
in the dance?
In the culture, did that leave or did it stay? I mean,
I don't see it as much now. I don't see as much energy. The type of energy I'm talking about, the fire. I don't see the passion. People are going through the motions. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I'm not knocking it because as long as you're getting your, you get, as they say nowadays, the kids say, you're getting your dance off, that's the important thing. But back in that period of time, and see, by me watching, see, a coach can see a game much better than the players. And I had more of a love for the dance than I could do the dance. I mean, I could do it if I wanted to, but I had such a love for it I wanted to appreciate because I had never seen fire like that before. As a matter of fact, it helped me personally in life because I took that fire and took it into my personal life. Took it into everything I did because these people were giving out. I don't know what happened to it. I think it's become somewhat regimented. The purpose, because at that time we were going through particular changes in life, and you would dance your thing off. Something happened, so wow, well the Savoy's gonna open on Thursday. Well, I'll hold it until then. And then you got in there, and instead of telling that guy you no good mother on Tuesday, you danced it out on Thursday. And the fire, or when your job, or when the baby was born, or whatever the case may be. It came out, as opposed to now. I don't know what happened to it, but I see a lot of motion, but I don't see emotion.
are you talking about in swing dancing, Lindy Hop now versus?
Yes, exactly. Well, did you see some of those clips that they were showing, and yeah, and the way they were, you know what I'm talking about? That's what someone has to interject in there. And I'm not knocking what's happening now. But there was, the film When the Spirit Moves, it was more the spirit moving than the dance and the feet moving. It was the spirit of the person. We had an individual, I think I told you about Nature Boy. Nature Boy was an individual, he had a beard, and he reminded you of a guy who was like Nature Boy. He wore a suit, but you could almost picture him walking around in a robe or something, because he had that kind of And Nature Boy would walk around sometimes with his hands behind his back, and he smiled at everyone as he was walking by, and they were dancing, and he'd walk along the floor. About 2-3 hours into the evening, when things started to really heat up, and it was moving, you see Nature Boy over in a certain spot doing a little step dance. And that step dance told you that the gauge was lifting and things were about to... Nature Boy was out. Oh, look at Nature Boy. There we go. You understand what I'm saying? So, I don't know where it's going, but I wish that it would show itself.
I mean, some people probably think this, I don't know, they might not say it, but do you feel like there's a cultural component? I mean, what's your take on it?
Yeah, I would say there's a cultural component to it, and the fact that there's not the same thing going on now. There's not that drive. There was a drive then. It was a burning urge. Everything was done with passion. There was a certain amount of passion that was going on. It was a good time. It wasn't necessarily a bad time, but it was a good time. You loved to the end. You worked to the end. You ate to the end. You drank to the end. This was pre-AIDS days. This was don't have too much fat days. So everyone became very passionate.
I would like to know what it was like inside the Savoy in terms of like the mixing of cultures and races. And do you feel like it was cultural? Well,
I think it was much ahead of its time. As you can see tonight, the one would call integration of this populace that's here, and of no conflict whatsoever. One dances with the other, and it's not when we'll look at that. No. Savoy was ahead of its time, and that was frowned upon by certain factions in the society at that time. The Europeans and European Americans, or the whites, even from this country, come from Iowa and Oklahoma, or people that will come from Sweden or come from Paris. Where did they want to go? Not to the Empire State Building. They wanted to go to the Savoy, the home of the happy feet. You know that, the home of the happy feet. Because there they found that they could be themselves. They had contests or shows or exhibitions, and people with their good clothes on would sit on the floor and enjoy themselves and didn't care who they were, poor, rich, whatever the case was. And that wasn't conducive at that time. And Savoy was one of the targets. They had situations where like some of the help would be caught and maybe with something in their possession which wasn't much or anything like that, and they wanted to close the place down. Or there were folks that would leave there and they would get hit in the head by a certain group of people, making it seem like those were the people from the neighborhood. Okay, because it was too much mixing. It was too much mixing, and I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm just calling it the way it is, because they did it at Birdland, and they did it at the Palladium. Because people get along. Music is the healer. Dance is really the healer. Dance heals more than listening to it. So yeah, there was a lot of things they didn't want to happen.
So was there a stark contrast between like inside of the Savoy and outside of the Savoy? How those energies sort of work, like between the culture, between the races?
I don't really. I know that when the races, any race came into Savoy, it was like they took off it was off. It was just too busy having a good time. You know, when you're busy having a good time, you could care less. It's only when there's a little misery going on someplace else. But on the outside, in Harlem, there was no, but then the other areas there were, like other parts of the city, there were problems. So to see that happen, let's say for instance, in South Africa, not to get away from Savoy, in South Africa, they had a place called Sun City. All through those problems they were having, people were mixing in Sun City because of the money. Yeah, there was a drastic difference on the outside because we were just getting ready to go into the civil rights, the pre-civil rights era, because we're having dignity. But inside, it was nothing like that.
Do you think it's important that it was whites coming to a black place, a black neighborhood, a black ballroom? I mean, do you think that was part of the thing that allowed that kind of intermixing? The fact that it was whites coming?
Well, and when you say that, you mean as far as the problems that it presented themselves?
No, if blacks go downtown to a white venue,
right,
would it work the same?
No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. But strangely enough, black folks were never really into, regardless of what you heard, they were never really into rabble-rousing. If you came and you cool, it's gonna be all right. Go and have yourself a piece of cake, darling, and pick up have a soda or something and come over here and sit or go and enjoy yourself. Go and enjoy yourself. Have some fun. That's what that was all about. Because they were too much, they were happy. They were happy people. It wasn't what are they doing here? As a matter of fact, they're glad to see you there. Because now it's really mixed up, and a lot of the folk, they could show off. They could show off. They had a new house to work to, you know, and they would see the whites were very excited. You know, we were excited too, but we were always cool. That's one thing about us, we'd be very cool. Guy be dancing his heart out. But it was, yeah, so I don't know if it's making, good sense, yeah. One of the things I wanted to point out about the Savoy was the structure, if you travel with me for a minute. As you hear the music here now, at about 139th Street, when you got on Lenox, you could hear that music. And from that time until the time you left and went home, it was like, now you heard the music and you're walking toward the place. Then you paid your money. You went up a flight of steps, then you turned back, going in another direction, going up the other flight of steps, which made you face back to the street. But instead, there was a huge mirror. And there were some people that did 10 minutes in that mirror when they came upstairs. Until someone's, come on, and then they go around and turn out. Now you go out to the dance floor. We had a night we called Kitchen Mechanic Night. kitchen mechanic night was the night when the ladies who slept in and worked in Long Island all week, that's when they got out. And they came to have fun. And those guys knew it. So that was the big ball, like on Thursday, kitchen mechanic night. Was enjoyable. You know, fun was had by all, let me put it that way. Okay, you got the picture. You know, yeah.
We've heard it even more colorfully, actually.
Yeah. Oh, no, it gets a little deeper, you know, because the girls came with a pocket full of money and whatever, and the whole nine, and they're looking just as well as the guys were. But kitchen mechanic night was a big night. They started a mumbo contest on Monday nights. And the thing I wanted to bring out was there were certain expressions, say for instance, the way the bandstand was set up, that as soon as one finished, the other one was picking up, the same way they did it at Roseland. That this band was finishing on a tune, that other, sometimes that band would play the same tune in their right, okay? And that gave you like a continuous feeling. It was never that much of a lull. When Machito, who spoke, his band sang in Spanish, when he came to the Palladium, I mean, not to play the Savoy, they didn't know the language, but they knew the spirit. So another name that I would name the Savoy would be the House of Spirits. See, they didn't know what his sister was singing, and they didn't know what he was singing in a lot of the music, but they knew they enjoyed it. And they gave off a raw feeling, you know.
You just described like some of your personal experience with dancing, any kind of dancing you do, like how does it hit you?
Dancing is a zone that nobody can bother me. I'm free. No one can tell me pull over to the curb. No one can say we're gonna have a test. No one can say, I'm sorry, you didn't qualify for your loan. No one can say, do you have your doctorate? Because you're free. It frees you. Dancing enabled me to do the things that I couldn't do as a person at first. Brief story. I went to a house party when I was about 12 years old. And I got there and they pushed me out. They were playing Lindy, and they were playing also, then they also had a Latin thing going, what they called mambo, okay. And I got stuck on both of them. First on the mambo, and then they pushed me out for the Lindy. And I was really broken up about it. But I was also kind of cowardish, you know what I mean, at the time. And I cried that whole night, going home and whatever. And the next morning I had my allowance. That was something that you guys don't know, but allowance, you had in the little jar, you saved your allowance. I went and I bought the exact record that they laughed at me with. And I noticed that it was freeing my spirit. And the things that people would say and do to me didn't mean anything anymore because of the fact I was going to my own musical psychiatrist. Music is a healing power. I'll tell you something that you may not know about me. I dance on the fumes. I dance on the desire and on the wish. I lost both of my hips. I have artificial hips. I've had artificial hips for many years. And so when I dance in a sense of giving. In a sense of giving. In other words, I don't need my hips in order to dance. I don't need this in order to dance. What dancing has done for me has been a healing factor. If you want me to get a little deeper, I had 2 cancers in remission, and dancing helped me through that. I had a kidney transplant, of which Monday, I'll be celebrating my 9th year. Dancing helped me through that. Because when I would dance, I was free. There are people who can barely walk. And I remember that at Savoy, they could wear white socks, some of the guys, because their feet were so bad and whatever. But as soon as the music hit, it was just like they were flying. So what dancing has done for them and what dancing has done for me, it has a healing. It's therapeutic. It's not just a lot of fun. It's therapeutic, and it keeps you young. And that's what it's done. You know, I wasn't thinking so much about the young, but as much as healing and calms my spirit.
Can I ask how old you are?
68.
Keeps you young.
Yeah, 68.
People asking about you.
Yeah, but very happy with that. Very happy.
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, I appreciate your candor. I mean, I think it's important. We want to hear about it. We don't pretend to know, but I I'm not afraid to hear what it was like in Savoy. It's really interesting to hear the dynamic of what it's like in and what it's like outside. And something that we're really interested in is like what dancing meant to people in relation to their normal lives.
Well, you had an opportunity to release. It carried us through. And most dance halls in Savoy, they had Monday, they had Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, okay? But you knew on Saturday that there was going to be something happening on Monday, like whatever they had. And you knew on Monday, the beginning of the week, there was going to be something happening on Thursday. So you never saw a 5-day week. It helped you get through life. It really helped you get through life. Dancing wasn't to the dancers like, you know, the Knicks and the Sullivan, which we had a class today. It wasn't just dancing. It was a way of life. It was a way to get you through the hard times or the difficult times, and it balanced you. So that meant a lot to folks. Are you going to such and such tonight? Just as you see some of these folks in here. This is a religion, not a dance to them. And they're going to feel so much better. If they didn't go to, or if they didn't have this evening, some of them would be climbing a tree by tomorrow morning. It sounds like I'm exaggerating, but I'm not. So it means a lot to you. It means everything to me.
You were talking about like how people dance for release.
Yeah.
Do you feel like in the Harlem today, and then also in like just America in general, do you feel like people have something that's a release like that, or do you feel like?
Truthfully, I feel that people indulge in too many issues. What sign are you? Well, that was something that went on about 15 or 20 years ago. But it's that same mentality. I'm this, I'm an A person, I'm a B person, and I don't do these things, and I don't do that, and I don't have coffee, and my goodness, this is such and such and such and such and such. This is not supposed to happen. I don't feel it's the same thing that's going on now, and it's unfortunate. And I'm not being a critic. I'm just being truthful. I'm standing on the sideline. I don't see that fire. There's just as much to suffer for. Ironically, when things are rough on the outside in life, people have a tendency to calm down in real life or in dance life. When things are calm on the outside, people have a tendency to bring it up a notch. We have a lot of individuals, not like yourselves, who are seeking knowledge and are doing their thing as far as seeking knowledge is concerned. It has nothing to do with that. What it has to do with is the fact that individuals who know it all and just got here. So you have some authorities on nothing. What do they know? And that kind of topsy-turvies. Oh, you're not important. Thanks a lot for doing what you did. But they're standing on the shoulders of people. I have made mention tonight. It kind of hit me to the degree it was a regrettable situation in that those who were pioneers of the dance, with due respect to Frankie Manning and Norma Miller, but those were pioneers, true pioneers, Big Nick with the sweating and the back of his coat perspiring, and Tall Teddy, and Ronnie Hayes, and Sullivan, and Black Nick. That's what they called him, Nick. He ballroom without the acrobatics that would make PBS look like child's play. He and his wife, both of them have passed now. Both of them have graduated. Let me put it like that. It's a shame that they couldn't be here to see how this is blown up. It hurts because as far as they were concerned, they were in an isolated area at that time. But to see this would have done so much, and I'm sure that someplace they are. And if they're not, when I get there, I'll tell them. Yeah, when I get there, I'll tell them. But It's a lot to it. And if you allow yourself to free yourself, just the way you're making the inquiries and the way you get into the dance, you're going to feel the freedom. See, there's a freedom that no one can step on when you can dance or when you can do something in the arts. Solving conflict through the arts, solving conflict through dance. You solve a lot of problems on the dance floor. Because a lot of the things come from, if I can do this, I can really get over that. I hope I'm not going on too long.
I always grew up first dancing. I was doing I'm like just growing up, 28, but starting to feel like a grown up, but on the dance floor,
Right.
I kind of feel like you can't around it. And then doing it in life, always second.
Okay. Okay. Because this is reality. That's fantasy. That's fantasy.
Some of the stuff you're saying about there being a realness about dancing that's different. Is there something? What's so real about dancing? You say it's real.
It's unadulterated. What you see is what you get. There's no way to lip sync your feet. There's no way to lip sync you. You can't do. Who was that? Those two guys that sang years ago. Yeah, Milli Vanilli, right. You can't do that with dancing. Dancing also depicts a lot of your personality. Not the fact that you can or you can't dance, but how you carry yourself in life, how you carry yourself, how smooth you move, what you do. That's the important thing. So that's what you relate to. People, their personality comes out in dance. Yeah, their personality comes through in dance.
Do you feel like there's something inherently male and female about leading and following? Is there something built into it?
Well, fortunately, dancing is one of the few things we have left that we can lead on without being taken to court. I'll probably get letters for that, but I got a small mailbox. What can I tell you? But no, the dancing has a twofold. Even though the man is leading, if the woman knows what she's doing, she makes everyone look good. So you lead her until she carries you where you want to go. You lead her, but she's the one that can carry you. She can make it happen and make it look so, whatever you do, she can make it, the finished product look good. Dancing together, for the dancers to dance together, let me say this, there was never a male and female problem, or there isn't a male and female problem even with the PBS shows. They have a job to do. One complements one thing, one complements the other. You're strong at lifting. When you lift me, I can point my toes and look gorgeous. So I need to get up, and the guy says, I need to look gorgeous. Well, let's work this out. So it's not a male-female thing in the dancers that I knew. Maybe off the stage it was, off the set, but on the floor, we were working as a team to make us look better.
Do you feel like is leading and following an equal thing, or is one, do you feel like one carries more weight in the partnership?
The male has to set the tone. No, the male has to set the pace, and the woman sets the tone. So the tone is nothing without the pace, and the pace is nothing without the tone. It's teamwork. That's why they call it a dance team. Okay? I mean, I hope I'm not sounding there, but I'm just that they need each other.
Do you think people think about the teamwork in the dance the same now, say in Lindy Hop now, versus Lindy Hop back in the day? Do you think they think of it differently?
I think that they look at it more now as a social function strictly, as opposed to let's get together and let's work out something. Many people who started dancing together wound up marrying each other or living together for a long time. That was what they call common law. Yeah, so that today it's not so much in most cases meeting someone and staying with them. You see some people that come in and they have a partner this week and they have favorite people they like to dance with. But you could come to a dance like this and you get in there and you make that sensual connection that I was talking about, oh, this feels good. He feels good or she feels good. Plus, we just move together. We're harmonious and whatever. I think, and then the next thing you know, you got a phone number and blah, blah, blah. And then you become a item. You start becoming an item. Oh, there's Joe and Joan. Oh, yeah, I saw Joe and Joan there last week. They're together and they find they can dance together and they become partners. So now it's, I don't know whether because of the population situation with so many more women than men, but come out to socialize. And some of them get lucky and find someone that'll last for the rest of their lives.
What's your concept of the demographic of like Lindy Hop? I have my idea of what the Lindy Hop scene is today, and I have my idea of what it was back in the day. I want to get your impression of what do you think the Lindy Hop scene is today, or what do you think it was?
I think it's a wonderful thing. I think it's dynamic, but I think it's a social event. Back in the day, it was a happening. Have you ever felt you were someplace and that one moment or that one time was going to go down in history? Wow, I'm here while it's happening. That's what I used to get from it. I don't get it the same way today, but it's still a wonderful event. It's social. But it was almost like someone had a shotgun in the wings saying, if you don't dance, you're in trouble. Okay, so there's the dynamics as far as movement is concerned is still there. But as far as the energy and the passion, it's coming, but I don't see it.
So what about the dance do you feel like is essentially, I mean, do you think the dance is of Black American origin? Is that where you see the dance coming from?
We mean the Lindy?
I mean the Lindy Hop.
Yeah, the Lindy Hop, yeah, because naturally it went back for many years, but it seemed like the finishing touches were put on by the African American or the Black populace because of the fact that they've always been able to act out. They've always been able to take it to a place. So it was cool that it was swing, but then if you notice in some of those clippings, some of those people went completely berserk, throwing in whatever. It entered another level when it got involved in the African American market. A completely different level. As a matter of fact, at the Harvest Moon Balls, that was the feature. When they mentioned that the Harvest Moon, the Jitterbug Jive was coming up next, they applauded louder for the announcement that was coming than they applauded for the whole show. And it's not saying me, I. One has nothing to do with the other. It's just the fact it was the energy they were putting into it.
That's what I wanted to ask you about that. I think I think like anybody who looks at a lot of elements of Black culture, especially art,
Right.
they'll see a lot of things that had started there and have gone other places that a lot of other people have taken love. Music, whether it's hip hop, soul, whatever.
Right.
Jazz.
Right.
How do you see that working with like jazz dancing, or any of the dancing that happened back in the day, in Harlem? Like, what do you think? Let me see, like, how I phrase the question about it. Like, do you see what like the white dancers are doing today? There's so many more white dancers I think there were back in the day.
Right.
Do you see what they're doing as taking from the dancers, or do you see it as continuing?
I see a continuance. To a degree, I see a continuance. I see even a few who have the root from whence it came, because they really appreciate it as an art form. Then there's some that find out that they can socialize, so that's what they like it for. But those who take it as an art form, it's a continuance, because it's a blessing, because if it wasn't for that, it wouldn't be. So it's not really a color issue as much as it is a feeling issue and a status and a class issue. It's a big difference. Big difference.
Is it important to you personally that people have an understanding of the root?
Yes. Yes. Because if they don't have a feeling of the root, it's a body without a head. It's a body without a head. If you don't know where it's coming from, you'll never know where you can take it. Not where it'll go, but where you can take it. But if you know where it's coming from, you know what you have to do. It's like a relay race. Okay, see that's it. I mean, some of my opinions may sound, but this is the way I feel about it. And I want to see all the passion come back. I want to see all the, we had a situation back in those days where we stayed in the table, or we stayed at home and we sent our nickname to the dance. Like Andrew Jerrick stayed at home, and Andy, at the time before they called me AJ, Andy came to the dance. And Andy would do things that weren't heard of.
We got a lot of different perspectives. It's really cool. They're just talking about some things they all talk about exactly the same.
Right.
Like the spirit.
Right.
We talk about exactly the same.
Oh, you have to have the spirit. You got to have attitude. Savoy was long floor. And if you went over close to the bandstand, maybe a little bit around the side near the windows, and the place was really packed, you could get lost. You were right up there with the band, but you could get lost. No one saw you. So the reason for having an attitude was when you walked on your floor with your partner, if you had that and you went and hid someplace, everybody thought you were the baddest dancer there ever was, because they saw you walking out. You had to dance if you were walking out like that. And when you came back off the floor, you had an attitude. Now, while you were out there, you could have been. But as soon as it was over, you had that attitude. Oh, yeah. I'm not even going to bother to watch. I know he's mean. See, so that you have to have attitude. You have to have it. And it's not being arrogant. It's not being aloof. It's just an attitude. You saw the gentleman in there with the hat? That's an attitude. He's enjoying himself. Not the red hat, the one that had his hat sitting on the side of his head there. That's his attitude. That's who I am. And each individual at that time, I want to point out, that came to a dance was an individual. There was a guy that danced like this. There was another girl there was another one that was smooth. Everyone had their distinct personality, but it was all a family. Where now you have a lot of people trying to dance like other people. Excuse me.
You were talking about how people were, like now people, they tend to like identify themselves as these things, these different things. And at the same time you're saying that back in the day people were all individuals. How are those different?
They let a personality take over, not a person then. That was a personality. One guy had the type like, say, Sullivan, always a very cool guy. Hey, just like that was his son who was here. Yeah, blah, 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 smooth. And he danced like that. He didn't, when he started dancing, or when he or Sugar started dancing, they didn't become, they still stayed in that place. They stayed there. And that's what makes it different now. There's some folks that are jumpy, and when they want to get into life, then they get very cool. You understand?
I've got a question about that. Do you think dancing helps you find that kind of, and like sort of get in touch with your personality?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Or is that something?
Oh no, you get in touch with your personality. There were times when I would have serious problems in my life. Business, job, girl, social, some sort of a status. And what I could do when I went home is I could turn on the music, even if I turned it on low, and dance. And it solved my problem. Because it's no one that can stop me now. And I can just let this flow like the river to the sea. And you know what? I felt so much better after that. If I perspired, I'd take a shower. And it was like I saved a lot of money from the psychiatrist. That's what dance did for me.
I wanted to ask you that. I asked everybody, you touched on it, but what do you think the dance has done for you? What's it done to you? Any kind of dancing has done, partner dancing.
Dancing has made me a better person. It's made me a stronger person. It's made me the type of an individual who has no fear and really no hate for. It made me a person that stops taking what people give me and start telling them what I want. It's made me know that there's no such thing as the impossible, only the unknown. Because if I can do this, then I can do anything. It's made me know that a little kid at 12 years old that got pushed into a circle and dancing and was laughed at, and he went home with tears in his eyes that night. And the next morning he got up bright and early and took his allowance and went and bought a record and wound up making a movie with that situation 4 years later, the same person on the record. It's made me know that I can do things. It makes me know that I'm an individual. Okay, it makes me appreciative for being. And this last episode of my life, I thought it was going to be all over. I had to learn how to walk twice. I was on walkers 2 years in a row. I walked when I got this hip replaced. This hip first. And then I was on the walker and things started to get straight. Then I got this replaced and I got back on the walker again. And I feared that I would never be able to even move. And thank God I can move. I don't move like I did before, but then I wouldn't move like I did before because these old gray hairs getting away sometime. You know, I kid people. I see someone dance and I said, I used to dance like that. Then I take a shower, put on my cologne, go out and hang out all night. I said, I still dance like that. I still take the same shower, but I put on Sloan's liniment and go to bed. So there's a big difference now. I mean, and I live with it, but I enjoy the smell of Sloan's liniment as long as I can move. So that's what dancing has told me, that I'm someone, and I don't have to take less for anything because I can express myself.
What do you think dancing does? Is there a power to partner dancing, specifically with Lindy Hop, that you know? Like, is there a power to it for people today, even though it's not the popular?
Oh yeah, there's a power to it because you're working together with someone. Dancing, partner dancing, couple dancing has been the creator of building love affairs or for never letting them happen or tearing them apart. What do I mean? What do I mean by that is when you find that you have someone that you can move with and that you enjoy being with and that you enjoy doing things with, it means a lot. So you might have that person as a dance partner for 2 years, but it means something. Now you start seeing in your personal life, you don't have that same harmony with maybe your significant other or your boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever, however the situation is. And that can raise the point for their partners who have become married. Because friends can become lovers, but lovers don't always have to be friends. So, you know, friends can be dancers, but dancers don't always have to be friendly. Yeah, so it does a lot. The partner dancing lets you know just where that person is. As a rule, they can't fool you there. They can fool you on the phone. Oh, yes, I love you, John. You know what I mean? But when they're dancing with you, it's harmonious. And it just feels good. And if we're communicating, why not carry it further if we have no commitments? So partner dancing is important. How can you tell of something, a person all the way over there with the music loud? The disco era was the blinking lights. Everyone looks, if you blink your eyes like this, people look great dancing. Guy can be standing there and wow, it's fantastic, right? So what happened at this club called the Ipanema one night, everything went off, all the electricity. It didn't go up, but the ball, as far as the electricity, and the lights came on and the music stopped. And there were people going. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
See, now this is true. Da, 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 da. It's, wow, it's pretty good. Let me turn. I didn't notice her before. Now you notice everything about her. Yeah, it does a lot for you. Does a lot. That's what they call. This is the greatest. What do you call it? Love mate, or what do you call it? Shipmate, or a date situation there. Oh yeah. Why do you think most of them are there? To dance alone? Oh, come on, please. They're shopping. Shopping for the damn. Lindy shopping. Oh, Lindy hopping. I'm sorry. Oops. Folksville. Yeah, Lindy shopping.